Authority. It's a heavy word, isn't it?
It really is.
When I say that word authority, what immediately pops into your head? I mean, what's the image that just flashes on the screen of your mind?
Well, usually it's symbols. We think in terms of, iconography,
Okay, like what?
a badge,
Hmm.
a gavel banging on a high desk,
Yeah.
maybe a general with a chest full of metal standing at a podium.
Right.
Or honestly, just that specific tone of voice a parent uses when you've really crossed the line and they use your middle name.
Yeah, that's a good one. We default to the external markers.
Mhm.
We look for the uniform, the title, the corner office to tell us who's in charge. We look for the credentials on the wall,
I do.
But today, we're doing a deep dive into a stack of sources that flips that concept completely upside down. We're looking at a specific slice of history, specifically the Gospel of Mark, chapters 1 through 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise here is just fascinating because it presents a version of authority that isn't claimed by a position or a title. It's authority demonstrated strictly through action.
And the reaction to it is what we really need to pay attention to today. Because you might think, logically, someone doing good things, showing power, healing people, everyone must love that.
You'd assume universal applause.
You would. But the text shows us that the reaction is actually, it's explosive. It's polarizing.
It's volatile. I mean, it's not just applause, it's danger.
Incredibly so. And what is unique about the material we have today, which centers on a lesson titled Power and Authority, is that it tracks a very specific, very tight timeline. We aren't just reading a collection of random miracle stories here.
No, this is different.
We are looking at a progression.
I love a good progression. It gives us a narrative arc to follow.
Exactly. Think of this less like a theology textbook and more like a pressure cooker.
Okay.
We're going to track how the situation in Galilee goes from, wow, look at that, to we need to execute this man in an incredibly short amount of time.
It's a rapid escalation.
It is.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We are putting on our detective hats today. We are tracking the events from Mark 1.21 all the way to Mark 3.6. We want to see how amazement, that initial wonder, curdles into outright hostility. Because according to these documents, the authority Jesus displays doesn't just fix broken legs or cure fevers, it breaks the status quo. And if history teaches us anything, it's that people hate it when you break the status quo.
They really do.
Yeah.
And to understand why this reaction is so visceral, we have to start with the central premise of our source material. It makes a bold claim right out of the gate. This lesson shows that Jesus is not only God's son in title, he is God's son in action. It's kinetic.
In action. So let's set the scene before we get into the specific incidents. What is the landscape of this action? Because when I read through this overview, it doesn't feel like a calm, meditative retreat by the lake.
Oh.
It feels loud.
Far from calm,
Yeah.
the setting is Galilee, and the pace is relentless. If you look at the text, the word immediately just keeps popping up over and over again.
I noticed that.
Jesus is constantly moving. He's teaching in synagogues, he's healing the sick, he's casting out demons, forgiving sins, moving from town to town. I mean, it's just a flurry of activity.
It sounds exhausting,
So
honestly.
it's high energy. But what draws the crowds, and eventually the critics, isn't just the busyness or the sheer volume of work. It's the differentiation. That's a key term here. The source highlights this massive contrast between Jesus and the religious leaders of the day.
Okay, the scribes specifically.
Yes, specifically the scribes.
Let's unpack that differentiation.
Yeah.
Because usually in that time period, if you were a religious leader, a scribe, you had authority, right?
Right.
You had the robes, the seat of honor in the synagogue.
Absolutely.
You were the guy people went to for answers.
You had the position. You relied on tradition. But think about how a scribe taught. This is crucial for context. A typical scribe's authority was based on precedent.
On what came before.
Exactly. They might say, well, Rabbi Hillel says this, but Rabbi Shammai argues that, and the ancient commentary implies this. Their authority was derivative. It was all footnotes.
Ah, I see. They were citing their sources.
Yes.
They were the academics quoting the manual. They were the administrators of the law, not
Not the authors of it, precisely. They were the librarians of the law. But the source notes that Jesus' authority is fundamentally different. When he speaks, he isn't quoting a predecessor. He isn't saying, I think maybe God means this.
Right.
He is speaking with God's direct authority. He's speaking as the source itself. He says, I say unto you.
That's a massive shift in dynamic.
Yeah.
It's the difference between reading a biography of someone and actually meeting the person.
That's a great way to put it.
One is information, the other is presence.
And the text gives us a startling detail to prove just how high this authority goes. It says, Even demons obey him.
That's a hierarchy check, isn't it?
It is. It establishes Jesus at the absolute top. The source material wants us to see a sort of vertical integration of power here. He is above the physical realm, sickness, paralysis, biology, and he is above the spiritual realm.
And the demons seem to get it faster than the people.
In many cases, yes. The demons recognize the authority before the humans do. They know exactly who just walked into the room.
So you have this figure moving through Galilee, displaying this top-tier authority, and naturally people are watching. The source mentions a spectrum of reaction. It seems like not everyone was throwing a parade.
Not at all. That's the conflict engine of this entire narrative. The source notes that everywhere he goes, people react, but they fall into three distinct groups.
Okay.
First, you have those with amazement, just pure shock. These are the people watching from the sideline.
The jaw on the floor crowd.
Right. Then you have those with faith people who see the authority and lean into it. They act on it. They take risks based on it.
They're all in.
They're all in. But then, lurking in the background, growing steadily, you have the third group, those with hatred.
And that's what we need to figure out today. How do you get from healing people to hatred? That seems like a non sequitur.
It feels like one, doesn't it?
Usually if you heal the sick, you get a key to the city, not a death warrant.
Well, the expert analysis here suggests that this section of Mark demonstrates that the arrival of the kingdom of God forces a choice. It's restoring what sin damaged, which sounds great on paper, but
it messes with the power structures.
it absolutely threatens those who want control. When real authority walks into the room, false authority gets very, very nervous.
Okay, let's trace this timeline. We need to see this happen in real time. The source material gives us three main stories that act as these structural pillars for the lesson. So let's start with the first one. We're going to call this the first bookend.
This is Mark 1, verses 21 through 28.
The scene is a synagogue in Capernaum. It's the Sabbath. Jesus is teaching. And suddenly there's an interruption. A man with an unclean spirit. Now paint the picture for us. How disruptive is this?
In a normal service, it's a complete disaster. The synagogue was a place of order, of reading, of, respectful debate.
The center of community life.
Exactly. To have someone screaming or convulsing caused by an unclean spirit, it desecrates the moment. It brings the chaos of the outside world right into the sanctuary.
It's a crisis.
It is.
Yeah.
But this is where we establish our baseline for Jesus.
What does he do? Does he panic? Does he call security? Or does he start some long, complicated ritual?
No. And this is the point the source emphasizes. He doesn't chant. He doesn't burn incense. He doesn't consult a scroll to find the right incantation.
There's no performance.
No performance at all. He just commands it, hold thy peace, and come out of him. And it happens.
It's immediate. No struggle.
It's instant compliance.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to focus on here is the reaction of the crowd. The source points us directly to Mark 1, verse 27. The people don't run away screaming. They ask a question.
They ask, what thing is this? What new doctrine is this?
What new doctrine is this? That phrase feels so significant. They aren't just reacting to a magic trick or an exorcism.
No, they're connecting the dots.
They are connecting the power to the teaching.
Yeah.
They're realizing that the words he was saying and the power he just displayed are linked.
Right. Because if he has the power to silence a demon with a single sentence, maybe his teaching about God is true too. It validates the message. Exactly. The source emphasizes the word amazed. At this point in the timeline, and this is so crucial for you to grasp, there is no hostility yet.
Not at all.
There is no murder plot. There is just sheer, unadulterated shock. They have never seen a human being tell a demon what to do and have the demon listen.
So this is our control group. This is the baseline. This is how the public reacts when the authority is fresh and new. It's pure wonder. It's who is this guy?
It sets the stage perfectly. Jesus arrives, displays dominance over the spiritual realm, and the sentiment is positive, arguably overwhelming. But now we move to the second story, and the stakes get raised significantly.
This is story number 2, the paralytic. Mark chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. I think, like many people know this story, the guy is digging through the roof.
It's a classic Sunday school story for sure. But if we look at it through the lens of authority and conflict, it takes on a totally different shape.
Okay.
It stops being a cute story about friends helping friends and starts being more like a courtroom drama.
A courtroom drama. I like that. So let's set the cast of characters. We have the paralytic, obviously. We have his 4 friends. The source calls them faithful friends.
Right.
We have Jesus. And importantly, we have the scribes sitting there.
The critics have entered the chat. And notice, They are sitting. They have the best seats in the house, likely right up front near Jesus, monitoring him, watching his every move.
So imagine the scene. The house is packed, people are spilling out the door, you can't get in. So the friends climb up on the roof and just start ripping it open, which, by the way, is a bold move in itself.
They're very bold moves.
These roofs were made of clay, branches, and mud. Imagine the dust and debris just falling on everyone inside.
Probably all over the Scribes.
I can just see it. And they lower their friend down on a mat.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's desperate. And this illustrates that faith reaction we talked about earlier. They aren't just amazed, they're acting on it.
They're taking a risk.
A huge risk. They believe this authority can actually do something practical for their friend. You don't destroy somebody's roof if you don't think Jesus can fix your friend.
You just don't. And this is where the plot twists. This is where the source says Jesus reveals his authority in a way that is, well, it's controversial.
Because he doesn't look at the man's legs.
No, he doesn't address the obvious physical problem at all. He looks at the man and says, "Son, thy sins be forgiven thee."
That is a screeching halt moment. Imagine you're one of the friends holding the rope. You didn't drag him all the way up there for a sermon on morality.
No, you wanted him to walk. You wanted physical restoration.
Of course.
So why does he pivot to forgiveness? Why start there?
Well, Jesus is doing something much deeper. He's addressing the root issue. He is prioritizing spiritual restoration over physical restoration.
He's going for the bigger problem first.
Exactly. He's saying the biggest problem you have isn't that you can't walk, it's that you are separated from God. He's treating the soul before the body. But the scribes, they catch the implication immediately.
Oh, they know what he's doing.
Instantly. To them, this isn't just a pivot, it's a capital crime.
The source notes their internal monologue. Why did this man thus speak blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God only?
And logically, honestly, within their own framework, they are right.
They're right. How so?
Within their theological framework, yes. If Jesus is just a carpenter from Nazareth, then this is blasphemy. Think about it. You can't forgive a sin committed against God unless you are God.
Okay.
I can't forgive you for something you did to your neighbor. Only the offended party can offer forgiveness, and all sin is ultimately against God.
So by forgiving sins, Jesus is claiming to be the offended party. He's claiming to be God.
Exactly. He is stepping into the divine shoes. And this is the first real crack in the amazement. We've moved from what new doctrine is this to this guy's crossing a serious line.
This is where the theological pushback begins.
It is. The scribes are thinking he can heal people, fine, but he cannot claim to do God's job.
So we have this tension in the room. The scribes are just fuming silently. But Jesus doesn't back down. He doubles down. And I love the logic he uses here. It's like a trap he sets for them.
It's brilliant.
The source breaks down verses 10 through 12. He asks them essentially, what's easier to say? Your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk.
It's a brilliant intellectual trap. Just think about it from a verification standpoint, which is easier to say.
Well, it's easier to say your sins are forgiven
Why?
because nobody can check it. It's invisible. If I say your sins are forgiven, who's to say they aren't? There's no external proof.
None.
But if I say get up and walk and the guy just stays there on the floor, I look like a total fraud. It's pass-fail. There's no hiding.
Exactly. To say your sins are forgiven is easy because it lacks empirical proof. To say walk is incredibly high risk. So Jesus uses the hard, visible thing to prove the invisible thing.
He uses the physical miracle as evidence for the spiritual authority.
He does. He heals the man. He says, "Arise and take up thy bed." And the man stands up. And Jesus says, and this is the key quote from the source, "But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins." He just leaves the sentence hanging as the man walks out.
Mic drop.
The healing serves as the proof of the authority. The source explicitly states, Jesus shows he has divine authority both to forgive sin and to heal. He is claiming the prerogative of God and backing it up with undeniable power.
So in the first story, he had authority over demons.
Oh.
That was shocking enough. Now he's claiming authority over sin itself.
Yes.
He is encroaching on God's turf, according to the religious leaders.
And that is why the temperature is rising so fast.
Yeah.
Amazement is quickly turning into discomfort. The crowds are still going wild. They're saying we never saw it on this fashion. But the leaders, they're taking notes.
They're building a case file.
They are. They realize this isn't just a rogue teacher. This is a threat to their entire system, their entire identity.
Which brings us to the third story, the second bookend. We started with a man in a synagogue. Now we end with a man in a synagogue. This is Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 6.
And this is the aha. moment of the lesson. We need to compare story 1 and story 3 side by side. The source really asks us to look at the pattern because Mark is a very structured writer. He's doing this on purpose.
He's setting us up for a comparison.
Definitely.
Okay, let's look at the similarities. Both are in a synagogue.
Check.
Both are on the Sabbath.
Check.
Both involve a man who needs healing, first the unclean spirit, now a man with a withered hand. And in both cases, Jesus silences the opposition.
The setup is almost identical. It's like history repeating itself. But the outcome is radically different.
Radically. In Mark 1, the reaction was amazement. It was, this is a new teaching.
Right.
In Mark 3, what happens?
Mark 3, verse 6. The Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him.
Destroy him. I mean, that escalated quickly. We went from cool new teaching to premeditated murder in the span of 2 chapters.
It's terrifying speed.
Why? What changed? Why is a withered hand the tipping point? It seems less dramatic than casting out a demon, honestly.
It does on the surface. But the source offers a crucial insight here. It says, Jesus' authority increases in clarity, but simultaneously the opposition hardens into hostility.
So the clearer he gets about who he is, the angrier they get.
Precisely. In the first story, it was a little ambiguous. A new prophet, a powerful healer, maybe. But after the claim to forgive sins and now healing on the Sabbath again, right in their faces, deliberately challenging their interpretation of the law.
He's forcing their hand.
He is. His identity as God's son is becoming undeniable, and that forces a binary choice. You either submit to that authority or you have to destroy it.
There is no middle ground. You can't just agree to disagree with someone who claims to be God and then proves it with miracles.
Correct. The religious leaders realized their control, their entire system, was evaporating. If he has the authority to reinterpret the Sabbath and forgive sins, then their authority, their footnotes, their traditions is null and void. They chose to destroy.
You mentioned the Sabbath. That seems to be the flashpoint for all of this.
Yeah.
Why was the Sabbath such a trigger? Why was healing a guy's hand on a Saturday worth killing someone over?
To understand that, you have to understand what the Sabbath meant to them. It wasn't just, don't work on weekends.
Right. It's not like our modern concept of a weekend.
Not at all. It was the ultimate symbol of religious adherence. It was the boundary marker that separated the Jews from the Romans and the Greeks. It was the rule that defined them as God's chosen people.
So it's about identity.
Identity and control. And over the centuries, they had built layers and layers of rules around the Sabbath to protect it. They called it a fence around the law. Yeah, hundreds of extra man-made rules to make sure nobody could even get close to breaking the actual Sabbath command. You couldn't walk too far. You couldn't carry certain things. You couldn't tie certain knots. It was incredibly complex.
And here comes Jesus, not just breaking their little rules, but to redefine the whole thing.
Exactly. And he does it with this incredible statement. The source quotes Mark 2.27. The Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It's huge. The leaders use the Sabbath as a fence, a burden to keep people in line. In their system, you serve the day. The day is the master. Jesus flips the script.
Completely.
He teaches that the Sabbath is for good. It's a gift, not a chain. It was designed to restore man, not to crush him under weight of rules.
So it's about restoration.
Yes. And that brings us to this beautiful theme of restoration that the source highlights. We've talked about the conflict, the politics of it, but we shouldn't miss what the authority is actually doing for the people who aren't religious leaders, for the normal people who are suffering.
The source lists a few really great examples under the Talk About It section. Let's look at Simon's mother-in-law. This happens back in Mark 1.
Right, Mark 1, verses 30 and 31. She has a fever. Now, to us, a fever is an inconvenience. You take a Tylenol and you go to bed.
You call in sick.
Right. But in the ancient world, without antibiotics, a high fever wasn't just a sick day. It was life-threatening. It was often a death sentence.
And Jesus comes in. What does he do?
He takes her by the hand. He lifts her up. And the source highlights a key detail. She was restored immediately. But look at the result. What did she do next?
It says she ministered unto them. She served.
She got up and served them.
I love that connection. Restoration leads to service. She didn't just feel better and go lounge around. She didn't say, thanks, I'm going to take a nap now. She got up and got back to her life, back to her purpose, which was caring for her family and her guests.
Exactly. The authority of Jesus isn't just about showing off power. It's about putting broken things back together so they can function again. It's functional restoration. It enables life to resume.
The source also mentions the leper in Mark 1, verse 40.
Now, talk about brokenness. A leper was an outcast, socially dead. You couldn't live in town. You couldn't hug your family. If people came near you, you had to yell, "Unclean," to warn them away.
You were a walking contamination zone.
Total isolation, absolute. And what does Jesus do?
He touches him,
He touches him.
which was illegal, wasn't it, under the ceremonial law?
Highly illegal. Touching a leper made you ritually unclean. But Jesus reverses the flow of power. Instead of the leprosy making Jesus unclean, Jesus' purity makes the leper clean.
That's incredible.
He restores his health, yes, but think about the social restoration. He gives the man his entire life back. He can go home, he can hold his children, he can go to the market. He's a person again.
And then the man with the withered hand in Mark 3.
Made whole, that's the phrase the Bible uses. His hand was useless, which likely affected his ability to work, to provide for his family. Jesus restores his livelihood. He restores his dignity.
So on one side, you have the scribes and Pharisees. Their version of religion, according to our analysis, appeared to burden the people. It was all about what you couldn't do.
Don't heal on the Sabbath. Don't touch the leper. Don't carry your bed.
And on the other side, you have Jesus.
Yeah.
His authority confronts the burdens.
And the synthesis from the source is powerful. God's kingdom restores people, not burdens them.
That is the clash, restoration versus regulation. And restoration was winning the hearts of the people, which is precisely why regulation wanted to kill him.
It's a tale as old as time, but rarely is it this stark. The source material really wants us to understand that this wasn't some simple misunderstanding. The leaders knew exactly what Jesus was claiming. They just rejected it because it cost them too much.
It cost them their power.
It cost them their prestige, their control, everything.
So let's bring this all together. We've tracked the timeline. We started with a demon in a synagogue, which created amazement. We moved to a paralyzed man, where Jesus claimed the authority to forgive sins, which created controversy. And we ended with a withered hand, where the clarity of his power and purpose led directly to a plot to destroy him.
That is the arc, from wonder to murder.
And the final verdict from the source. What's the main takeaway?
It's unequivocal. Jesus' power reveals he is the Son of God. His authority isn't partial. It confronts everything. Sin, sickness, demons, and hardened hearts.
Comprehensive.
It is. And the source leaves us with a very specific dichotomy. It says, those who come to him in faith are restored. Those who resist him are exposed.
Exposed. That's a strong word.
It is. And that leads me to a thought I want to leave with you, the listener. We often think of miracles as these warm, fuzzy moments, and they are for the person getting healed. But in this narrative, Jesus' presence acted like a giant mirror.
A mirror, how so?
Well, think about it. When Jesus walked into that room, everyone's true intentions came out. He forced the issue. The friends showed their faith by ripping a roof apart. They couldn't hide their desperation or their trust.
Right.
The scribes showed their pride by judging silently in their hearts. They couldn't hide their arrogance. The demons showed their fear.
It forces what's on the inside to come to the outside.
Exactly. The authority of Jesus didn't just fix legs, it revealed hearts. It stripped away the masks. You couldn't be neutral around him. You were either opening a roof to get to him, or you were plotting in a corner to kill him.
That is a provocative thought. What does authority reveal about the person standing in front of it? It's easy to look busy or religious or even faithful when no one is challenging you. But when real restorative authority walks in, do you celebrate it? Or do you feel threatened by it?
That's the question. Are we looking for restoration or are we looking for control? Because as we saw in Mark 1-3, you can stand right next to the Son of God, see a miracle happen 3 feet away from you, and still miss the point entirely if you're holding on to your own authority too tightly.
A chilling but important lesson from the deep dive today. Authority is action, and that action demands a reaction. Which one are you? Thanks for joining us as we unpack this fascinating slice of history.
Always a pleasure to connect the dots.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.